Several authors, including myself at times, have suggested that the plains spotted skunk populations crashed during the mid-1900s. I want to look at other evidence of such a population crash, in particular, whether the introduction of agricultural chemicals or disease, which have been suggested could have caused such a change in populations, were a factor in what was going on at the time. So I looked at agency reports, magazines, and any other historical documents that I could find to try to determine exactly what was going on with spotted skunks during this period. The most likely route for introduction of new diseases to spotted skunks would have been escapes of animals from mink farms, which were common, especially in the more northern parts of their range. However, it seems unlikely that escapes of diseased animals would have been common enough or widespread enough to have caused a widespread impacts on their populations. The most significant disease I did find evidence for was rabies. There was an epidemic of rabies that started in Iowa in 1945 and spread throughout their entire range. You would think that populations would rebound from an endemic disease like this. However, another factor which hasn't been discussed is that experts at the time would often suggest that populations of wildlife in areas experiencing an outbreak be reduced to help slow the spread. I didn't find any evidence that such operations were conducted during this time period, but they may have taken place. Agricultural chemicals were introduced during the mid-1940s and were being used throughout the range of the plains spotted skunk, however, at fairly low levels. In corn, which has been associated with high densities of populations of spotted skunks, only a small percentage was being treated at this time for insect or weed control. So it seems unlikely that DDT or related chemicals would have caused a significant change in populations at this time. Now, the information we have on spotted skunks possibly crashing during this period is based on harvest reports. Here you see a subset of states that had complete data from 1943 to 1954, and it does show obviously a very significant, well over 90% decline in harvest of this species. However, you look at opossums and striped skunks, you see similar declines during the same exact period. And if you look at the wider fur market, there was a significant drop in demand from the 40s that continued on to the 60s until the last real fur boom in the 1970s. So to me, it seems very unlikely that there's actually a significant drop in spotted skunk populations because neither agricultural chemicals or disease seem to have been a factor. And other than some very anecdotal reports from certain states, which are contradicted by other states, there doesn't seem to have been any evidence for a real decline in populations during this period.